In this adventure, I explore northeast Concord Township, which is in northeast Butler County, Pennsylvania. I will be driving through the Village of Hilldale, which is no longer on Butler County maps. I found Hilldale while looking at old maps. Hilldale appears on a map from 1910, and on the left-hand side looks to be the only structure left from the community of Hilldale. The only information I found is that the village used to be called Speechley. Other than that, the industry surrounding this village remains unknown. The former Village of Hilldale was at the intersection of Coon and Mertland Road. At the intersection, there once stood a one-room schoolhouse. It was known as the Mertland School. Mertland School closed in 1931. Students were transferred to Hooker Elementary School. The former one-room schoolhouse is no longer standing. So sit back and relax as I give you a tour of the Concord Township countryside. With around 1,300 residents, Concord Township remains rural. It was settled in 1796 and incorporated into Concord Township in 1854. The next stop on the Concord Township adventure is the Village of Troutman. According to the book in Historical Gazetteer of Butler County, Troutman was an oil town. During the oil boom of the 1860s and 70s, people flocked to the area hoping to strike it rich. Born in France, Stephen and Carolyn Troutman settled in Concord Township in 1870. The village was located at the intersection of Troutman and Redbud Roads. In 1877, Troutman, like many other oil boom towns of the era, met its demise. Fires were common in these oil boom towns, and Troutman was no exception. Lightning struck a tank containing 24,000 barrels of oil. Quote, the explosion and river of blazing oil caused 2 other tanks to explode. Altogether, the fire consumed 46,000 barrels of oil, 11 oil wells, and most of Troutman and nearby Batesville. Quote, today, in 2025, very little remains of Troutman. To my surprise, it shows up on Google Maps. The village of Batesville is another area I have to do research on. Also nearby was Modoc City. Modoc City was an oil boom town. However, it was gone by the 1880s. The people of Troutman persevered, and by 1881, there was a hotel and about a half a dozen businesses. Coming up to the right is an abandoned structure. Up the road from the Village of Troutman is another lost community called Byers Corners. You will not find Byers Corners on Google Maps, however, it can be found on a 1909 map of Butler County. Troutman Road comes out at 7 Hills Road. I don't know the history regarding Byers Corners. According to the 1909 map, Byers Corners had a church, a one-room schoolhouse, and about a dozen houses. Zion Lutheran Church and a couple older homes are what's left of Byers Corners. Coming up is the intersection of Cherry Road and Zion Church Road. The house coming up on the left looks like it could have been one of the original structures in Byers Corners. There used to be an old barn on the right, however that has been demolished due to safety reasons. I'm just making my way on 7 Hills Road, admiring the beautiful countryside. And I'm coming up on a beautiful old farm. You will see me slow down because I'm still used to there being railroad tracks coming up. The tracks that were once here belonged to the Bessemer and Lake Erie Railroad. The last train roared through in 2002. I have been traveling these back roads all of my life. When I was 2, my mom stalled out on the tracks. It was during those harsh winters in the late 1970s. My mom was driving my dad's Dodge truck. My mom pulled me from my car seat and went to the farmer for help. Thankfully, they were able to get the truck off the tracks. And thankfully, I have no memory of the incident. Here's a nice straightaway. The house on the left is now abandoned. I also remember there was a white one-story farmhouse on the right. My mom only saw somebody there once, and that was whenever I was a tiny baby. The house has since been demolished. And coming up, we come to the crossroads. I remember the sign used to say "Stop Ahead," and I don't know why I remember this, but Christmas night, 1980, I remember I was in my dad's Chevy truck, and there was a little light on the floor, and I remember it reflecting off my red Snoopy galoshes. Why I remember that, I have no idea. And at this intersection, I opened both the windows so I can hear traffic. Another early memory I have happened in the early 1980s. My dad was behind this black Cadillac which was swerving all over the road. So we're just going to assume that the driver was intoxicated at the time. 7 Hills Road is like a roller coaster. When I was growing up, 7 Hills Road was dirt. In the winter and early spring, the road was riddled with ruts and mud. And after my bus flipped over on May 11th, 1989, is when they made the decision to pave the rest of 7 Hills. For some odd reason, I keep having a reoccurring dream there was a village on the hill by Bish Road. The right-hand side in my dream has hastily built structures. As of this video, I have yet to find evidence of a village. Okay, back to the bus accident. Bus 23 flipped over in thick mud on narrow 7 Hills Road. The story was in the Butler Eagle, and KDKA came up and did a story. I have the recording on VHS somewhere. When the accident happened, I was waiting for the bus. I saw the bus flip over, and I heard a loud crash. The next day was Friday, and the students of Bus 23 had an unscheduled day off school because of the wreck. I remember that morning. It was cold, rainy, in the 40s, and I had one of my horrible sinus headaches. Injuries were minor. They were cuts and lacerations. Thankfully, there were no major injuries.